All right, what's up, Rizzle? So
What's
check,
up, man?
check this out. Welcome everybody to my first episode of Franky Needle's NFT experience. That's what I'm calling this thing. And I got my man Rizzle here, and I want to explain what this is gonna be. This is a podcast that I'm putting together, essentially because I was podcasting prior to all of this NFT craze and the run up that we just had in crypto. And I kind of want to cycle back now and kind of check in with the people that I was talking with before, and the innovators pretty much that have become the innovators. But in the beginning, we were just some guys that would talk on Zoom calls. Let's be real. So
Yep.
nobody better to start this off with than Rizzle. Rizzle, you can Rizzle's like the community, like everybody knows Rizzle, and you literally you have your hands in everything. So uh, I just want to say thank you for doing this. And
Of course, man. Dude, it's an honor to do these things with people like yourself, man. I try to do my best to like the things that I have my hands in, goes back to the beginning with the people from the beginning and the people who like built this space, man. You're one of them.
right,
So,
right, appreciate that.
very, very happy to be here with you, man.
Right, right. So with that being said, let's talk. Let's get into it. This is like the perfect time too. I was saying this just before we got on. The perfect time is when the market's just getting crushed, because guys like us, we just kind of keep going. We just kind of keep doing what we do. I'm sure you got a bunch of projects. I know I'm working on a project that has something to do with you as well. So we're always doing stuff. If you're building, you're building. I honestly didn't even know the market was crashing until like the other day. I'm like, oh, I should probably do something about that. It is what it is, man. So let's get into literally what were you doing prior to any of this stuff? So like prior to the Rizzle, persona, like
Yeah.
what was it and how did you find yourself here?
So dude, I actually spent a little over 15 years in nonprofits and shit. I have a master's degree in social work. I spent most of my time working with kids. I ran a youth shelter for a couple of years. I worked with kids in what they call like alternative to incarceration programs.
Mm-hmm.
And juvenile detention centers and that kind of stuff. I did like some regular counselor type of stuff in schools. So I was like doing that kind of thing, which pays like shit, man. So like that's I actually like really, really enjoyed it and like did well, but like found myself really frustrated with like bureaucratic bullshit and like
Right.
nonprofits and everything. So
Yeah.
so anyway, man, if you like do that kind of thing, you have to have like a side hustle and like crypto was always one of them for me, like going back to like the very, very beginning, like just flipping junk coins like
Okay.
in like 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And so what started as just sort of like a hustle, like, sort of just grew into like a genuine like fascination with like blockchain. At the time there was like it was sort of like coming up on the big like altcoin explosion. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is so interesting. Like now we got all these different like coins and chains that do like slightly different things for slightly different purposes.
Yep.
And so I just got like gradually sucked in from like a believer enthusiast standpoint while I was just trying to like hustle and make some side money and eventually just like learned enough stuff and like stuck around long enough that
That's literally
I
what
ended up
happens.
being able to make the jump and do it full time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me honestly thought like I was gonna miss what I was doing in like I guess my previous career like
Mm-hmm.
more, and I do a lot, man. But I
Mm-hmm.
was very frustrated by not being able to make like as big of an impact on the world per se as I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like crypto like actually allows me to do that in like in a sort of like a roundabout way, but like in a more like impactful way, man. I feel like it extends so many opportunities to so many people, and I have the opportunity to be part of that, man. And I feel like it's good, man. I feel like it's a good thing, and it's a common mindset that like a lot of us share who were here like very early on.
Exactly, because in the beginning there was a way less financial incentive to what we're doing. So it wasn't like when you see today, and this is the reason why I'm doing this, because you see today what the social landscape of it is. It's like, oh, I have this picture, of this, and I have this picture of that, and a lot of them don't even have an understanding of the underlying technology that they're dealing with. You know,
Yeah.
so in the beginning, it was like I said, it was less financial incentive. Everybody was interested in what it does. and why it does, and how I can use that to better myself, my situation, or maybe, like yourself, maybe other people's situation as well. That's why I really enjoy the like I said, the people that were here from the beginning, and that's why it seems like we don't flinch. It's like, okay, something's
Yeah,
happening.
dude. I was like, you man. I mean, I like it doesn't really matter. Like when you're building within the space like full time, like the
Hmm.
market goes up, the market goes down, but the job like is the job, like
Right.
so it doesn't matter in a lot of ways. And I used to like spend like tons of time day trading, so I would like be constantly
Nice.
watching the markets like fluctuating,
Yep.
and like planning my moves accordingly, and this and that kind of thing. But now that I'm like sort of on the other end of things, like from a builder's perspective,
Hmm.
I'm like all in at this point. There's nowhere for me to go, man. My licenses and shit are like expired, so I'm not going back to the old day job.
Yeah.
I have
Right.
to do like, go re-up like all his trainings and like all this shit, man. I'm like, no, man, I'm like all in at this point, so the market can do what it's gonna do,
Hmm.
and still we're gonna still be out here, which dude is part of like the frustration. I feel like that's sort of like I don't know, sort of gratifying to see come out like in the social landscape from a lot of the builders within the space. It's just like, dude, the market just had this huge upswing. Now we're like coming down hard,
Right.
and like a lot of people just got like fucking erased like during this whole like hype cycle. It's just like they just all pretended like a lot of us never existed, and it's I don't know, seeing some people, including myself, doing a little venting out there or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
of course. You see,
uh
it's so funny on Twitter right now to see all of the old guys that coming on like, I told you I'd still be here when y'all leave. Like y'all wasn't never doing shit, whatever. But it's kind of in jest and in fun because like we were there in the beginning, when it was crashing, like in the first place. Like when I first got in,
yeah.
it was crashing and everybody was arguing over everything, and I was just trying to learn. So I was very like whoa, I'm sure people are gonna have the same experience once it, I mean,
Yeah.
I could see it getting worse, and if it gets worse than this, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of fighting going on, man. A lot of little bickering over people who think their projects are worth more and what have you. What I can say is, if your project is, if the project that you're into or invested in, whatever that may be, is real, then it'll make it to the other side. You know,
Yeah.
if you have dedicated,
Yeah. This
team
this we will
members who,
tell now.
yeah, exactly. Now another thing is I wanted to talk to you about was the whip, because that's where I originally met you. I believe I can't even remember at this point, but I believe it was the whip. Now, how did that all start? Because I 2019 I did it, and it seemed like it had been there forever already.
Yeah, dude, I something just reminded me of that like infamous boot incident just like a couple days ago.
Matthew,
I
yeah.
don't know, maybe maybe it was because we had just been talking and whatever, but I don't know, for people listening. So all right, so I'll back up and then I'll explain the boot.
Yeah, I'll see if I
So
can edit a little shot of the boot, like as you do
yeah.
this.
Oh, dude, it's shit like that that makes the whip great, man. So the whip was actually like Matt's brainchild, like way back in the day, probably like 2019, something like that.
Okay.
And I honestly, dude, I thought it was like a dumb idea at first, and I'm now like a fully converted co-host, and have been doing it with him for years now on a weekly
Right.
basis. So
Right.
it's basically like a virtual event. It's like a traveling circus, man. We
Mm-hmm.
like are in a different virtual location every week. A lot of times in crypto voxels, just because it's like the easiest for people to get into.
Mm-hmm.
We found Decentraland. I know you're in there a lot, man.
Yeah.
That's the other place we host them most often in as well.
Yep.
And so we have like a speaker panel of interesting crypto projects, guests, artists, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
each week. And then and during this time, we're like doing, some giveaways or like, some sort of something. We've got like POAPs and NFTs, and sometimes the speakers want to like give some stuff away to the audience or like
Mm-hmm.
raffle something off or something. So there's a lot of that type of thing going on concurrently with these virtual events. And then like afterwards, we normally have some sort of like field trip to a cool spot, or like we tour like a virtual art gallery, or like maybe we're in a cool location. So like uh person who owns the place will like show us around and talk about their spot, or we'll have some sort of like stupid activity with a prize at the end or whatever. And it's really been just like a fun way to sort of showcase like cool, like interesting stuff that's going on, but also like tinker around with some of the tech in
Right. Yep.
like a not real serious way. Like, all the stuff that we're doing is like, on surface level, like fun and games, but we like break a lot of shit in like the
And it's
meantime
it's
anyway,
like a beta
because
test, and I mean, I'm sure Ben has like
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
appreciated you guys because in the early days you were breaking his shit, and it was
yeah.
probably very beneficial to him at the time. I know that like during those times when you were doing the whip early, I remember being like so jealous, like we can't get that many people to come to Decentraland. Like it was,
Yeah.
at the time, like you guys were
Yeah, yeah.
crushing it in Crypto Voxels. It was every week in Crypto Voxels, and I wanted that many people to come to Decentraland so we could beta test our like bandwidth and what have you.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time as far as in the beginning of the whip. Nowadays, it seems like every single person that has done anything in this industry has at least showed face there, right?
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah, at the whip. And I thought you were gonna say in like both CryptoVoxels and Decentraland, man. Now I feel like the people who have been around are like very familiar with both of those
Oh yeah.
places and like have like profiles and stuff and go back and forth.
Mm.
Um, so wait, what was the question, or what? I don't
um,
know, man. We'll come back to it. Dude. So the boot,
the
man.
boot.
We
I was
should,
gonna talk about the
so
boot too because I like. All right, I guess I'll explain what it is. So I'm dressing my character, and I was actually interviewing Matthew. Oh no, it wasn't Matthew. No, it was interviewing Andrew Steinwald, and he was a big. This is so long ago, but he was a big crypto voxels land whale, and so I was like, let me get into crypto voxels and let me dress my guy, and I had bought two boots off of I believe Yatepi, and I actually met him in Las Vegas, so shout out to Yatepi, but what do you call it? Yeah, I bought two boots, and I was gonna put them on my guy. They're just like some Timberlands, and I dressed them wrong. I don't know what I did, and I never fixed it because it looks cool. So I dressed them wrong, and the boot kept like jumping up and kicking me in the back of my head while I walked. And I just like we thought it was great. Andrew was like, "You got to keep it," So I kept it like that, and I still have it like that to this day.
The whip that I don't know why, man. I periodically I think about this and I just like crack up. It was we did some sort of like field trip or something, and you could see like from far away like just Franky's boot like coming around the corner. Like even before Franky like turned the corner, like the boot would like flop in front of them. I don't know. It's one of these weird like metaverse you had to be there moments.
Yeah, yeah.
But dude, that just got me thinking, man. Like what you were just saying about like the early days of Decentraland, dude. Now it seems like
Oh yeah.
I was tapping on the wall of the Mega Cube for the past couple days, man. There was like a ton of people up in there. Your bar has a lot to do with, I feel like, the early days of like starting to gather some momentum and everything in Decentraland.
Right.
But sort of like tying this all together, man, I saw some post from someone talking about how like, these OG like metaverse wearables like also got completely overlooked in the hype cycle.
Oh,
like
yeah,
like
definitely.
when we're like Meta is like trying to like co-opt this whole thing. So like how are like the original like Genesis wearables of the metaverse worth like dust now? You know what I mean? It's
That's
like
I think that plays out at the end of the day. I think that if you were thinking about, I mean, honestly, you could have never got me to think that the PFPs would have took off so much, just because they don't do anything. And
right.
of course they started to add utility to them after the fact, which I thought was hilarious. But I think that when me and Maddie used to talk about this in length in the beginning. It was like RuneScape. It took years for those items that became big money items that were basically wearables or RuneScape. Those things they weren't like that for good 5-10 years until one day, and that's how things that are historic in that way. You remember MLB Champions?
Yeah.
So MLB Champions, I remember looking at that. It was like not even that long ago. It could have been a year ago or something like that. But I remember looking at that and be like, man, those things are gonna take off now that NFTs are taking off and that project's dead. And I could see it, and I was like, I better grab me a couple of Shoheis, and I never did. and then they almost like a week later they went right up. So it's like when somebody notices it or a group of people notices it, and then everybody kind of agrees on that thing. I saw Crypto Cats was like that, Moon Cats was like that, like random ones that are like from the past, and even Crypto Punks. Because I remember when Crypto Punks, a long time ago, I was just getting into the game, and somebody was like, "You better grab a Crypto Punk if you have a decent amount of money," and I was an idiot, so I didn't, and
Man.
yeah, for real.
Guilty.
Yeah, but it was because I didn't see that or understand the concept. I didn't understand like the people really want to be able to identify themselves in the in the digital landscape, and we don't have the metaverse as much as people want to talk about it. It's not like the active place where people are like taking in the internet. Not yet.
Right.
I think that in the future that you're going to end up in a 3D internet, and that would make sense then to have your 3D things and then your historic 3D things. But as we stand right now, the internet is 2D, so I guess it does make sense for those PFP projects,
Yeah, man. It's interesting that was like the sliver of this technology that like really caught on, and it really has like nothing to do with technology. It's just like I mean, sort of, but it's like loosely based on like the really cool stuff.
It's so like the bare example, it's like, oh, we can
like
through code we can dress this guy, and then you can have him and he'll be yours. But like it's really not much more complicated than that as far as the PSP.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to me. I mean, I've slept on a lot of money left on the table and everything just because I don't get it, man. And I'm not like, and in some respects, I'm like here to gamble in some respects. I mean, I'm, OG, day trader and shit. So I do a little bit of that on the side, but I also am like, not here to play the lottery either, man. I make like calculated bets and I like, do my homework. That's why I like did well enough that I could make the leap to like doing this full time, is because I like know my shit and I study my shit. And I like, if I'm putting my money on something, it's not either I know I'm totally rolling the dice and I'm okay with that, or I've like, done a decent amount of homework and know what I'm, putting my money behind. And those aren't the things that like tend to really take off and hit the moon. You got some safe money in like some stuff isn't going anywhere, and every now and again one of them goes up a little bit, but like to really hit one of these moonshots you got to throw a lot of money down on like a lottery ticket, and like that's just like that's never really
investing. It's just not really what it is.
Man, like and you don't know anything about any of these projects and everything, so like I don't know, man. It's a lot of people have made a lot more money than me riding that wave, but like I just try to stick to what I'm good at,
Yeah, I think there was a part of me that didn't necessarily want all that right away. I saw throughout this whole process, I've seen tons of people make life decisions that are maybe questionable 5 years down the road from now. A lot of people got married. Let's just put that out there. I'm not saying don't get married, but I don't know if this is the catalyst that should get you married. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, a lot of people getting relationships and houses and like a lot of major life things happening. Man, it's funny that you point that out, but you're dead on.
I saw a lot of that. I'm not gonna that wasn't one specific or another. Just it was a lot. It was a lot of I hope that was on the way anyway, type thing. Because if it wasn't, man. Because life continues. Life continues, and the markets have cycles. So you're gonna have your times when you're up. You're gonna have your times when you're possibly down, and making bad decisions in life will lead you to real financial problems.
Dude, I think like a lot of people who might have had difficulty getting involved in a relationship got a lot of money, and that made it much easier for them. Man. And like, you know how that goes, man. It doesn't always end very well.
You're telling me, man. I got lucky to have lived a lot of life before any of this. So I was like, me personally, I was working odds and ends jobs and stuff like that. But I had been around a lot of different life experiences, and like I said, it's all grain of salt with me with the money. It's like I enjoy being a little bit better off than I was before, being able to kind of take care of myself in this way, but man, I'm not one of those guys that hit the moon, or whatever, hit for a huge dollar amount. So, I'm just trying to maintain. And, for me, the lucky part was being able to be somebody in the industry,
Yeah.
to know guys like yourself and everybody else, in the industry, and to put myself in a position to have a job within the industry, which is amazing. I think that's
Yeah.
more valuable. And people don't understand that, but you'll understand. And what are we in, like 2030, so like down the road, when the people like yourself, myself, all the early guys, if you stuck to it and you decided to be somebody within the industry, the industry grows, you'll grow with it. You'll have people are gonna want your knowledge, So
Yeah.
that's to me is the biggest luckiest part. If you can actually gain some actual knowledge and things that are useful, then you make yourself much more useful in the industry that's blossoming.
Dude, 100%, man. I feel like anyone who was around in like early days who stuck to it is now doing something within the, if they wanted to do something within in the industry, they have enough experience and knowledge that they can do something within the industry. And you see like pretty much anyone who's stuck around. Dude, I was just talking about this with Skeeny, man. When I was over in Spain last week with this conference and everything, it's sad and like sort of disheartening to see people like, during this big run up, man. I feel like it affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways, sort of like what you were saying, man, with the, people making a lot of life decisions. I feel like a lot of people, got really disheartened, or like, it broke a lot of spirits, and some people just sort of like, fizzled out, or just like, aren't here anymore. And I feel like in a weird way, like the dip is a hard time for like a lot of people who haven't experienced it. But like, this was sort of like a test too, man, like, sort of withstanding all this fucking bullshit and like coming into the scene and like essentially trying to like co-opt the space and like, you rewrite the narrative and everything. And like, having to sort of just like, eat that, like, as people are just fucking making money, like hand over fist. I think that like fucked with a lot of people's heads too, man. And,
I got a message not too long ago from one like, super OG Decentraland guy. I'm not gonna mention names, but just jaded. And he's like, man, I'm making money. He's like, I ain't tripping. But I just got these people who know nothing really about the industry, and they're throwing money at him, because he knows his stuff and stuff. And I'm like, man, well, just keep collecting it, because, it don't last forever. You know what I'm saying? I might need a job in the future, so, save enough to give me a job,
Yeah. No, dude, I identify a lot with what you said, man, in terms of like, I feel very fortunate to be able to like do this shit. I'm like, now like just full-time Rizzle, man. Like, I have enough of a safety net that I can like, if everything implodes tomorrow, I can, hang in there for a while longer and see if it, goes back up again or whatever.
Right.
But the opportunity to like, do this is more than enough for me, man. I'm like you, man. After a certain point, like, my stepdad actually has this great saying. He's like, you can only fit like, so many ice cream sandwiches in your mouth at the same time, in terms of like, having a lot of money or whatever. And it's true. You know what I mean? It's like, once you have like, are able to like, do what you like, day in, day out. It's like, what really much more can you ask for, like, on top of that? A lot of people have a lot of fucking money and still don't do that.
That's what I'm saying. I always said, like, when I got to the point when I moved into here and then I got enough paper towels for good, I felt good. I was like, I got enough paper towels, I'm straight. Like, I got Parmesan cheese in the refrigerator. Like, stuff like that. There's like the stuff that you'd be missing normally, when you're broke. Yeah. Stupid dude, shit like that.
I just said to my wife the other day, I can't even remember how it came up, but I said to her, I was like, I'm not going to worry about the $5 or whatever. I forget what it was, like something, whatever. And I was like, and I said right after that, I was like, I can't even tell you how crazy it is to like hear that come out of my mouth. Like, I feel so fortunate to like be in a spot where I'm like, I'm not going to sweat it. It's $5 if I like, tipped them too much or like whatever. It's, it's not. But that like was a thing, man. That was like, I go to customer service to fucking get my, $3 they overcharged me on my receipt, man. I'm like, give me my fucking $3 back.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I mean, especially even in the beginning for me, I mean, like not that long ago, that was a thing for me, and I'm still
Yeah.
growing. I'm not to where I want to be yet, but definitely, things have changed in that way where I worry about like more like macro things. Like that's why I wanted to start the podcast. I wanted my own thing going on. I have, a couple different projects I'm working on, but I wanted a specific thing that, that I'm working on, and kind of getting back to those roots of speaking with people and speaking with a lot of my friends who literally have become this huge in this industry.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It's wild to see like different people's trajectories within the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to like pick apart like people in like in any way really, but like when you say like people have gotten huge, man,
Yeah.
it's just really nuts, man. Especially because like we were all sort of in the same like circle, and there's like a lot of people with like overlapping skill sets, and but some people just really got plucked out and like thrown into orbit or whatever during this whole run up and everything. And it's just sort of crazy to see how like I don't know how that played out, man. It's fascinating to be like right in like the center of the storm when like some the old neighborhood starts getting gentrified and shit, and like you're digging your heels in, you're like, oh fuck that, I'm not moving out, my rent, if they're not changing my rent or whatever. But you're like watching the shit go on like in real time around you, and it's just, I don't know, man, it's been a wild ride. It's weird to like, dude, it almost seemed like this huge downswing wasn't going to happen. I'm like sort of fascinated to see how this like all plays out. It's just, and I say that every upswing. At some point, I'm like, maybe we're up here now. Maybe we've sort of hit that point, and then wham, 50% down some shit.
To me, there's always a number that I'm looking for that we never get to. I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get here. We never get there, like So I go down with the ship sometimes,
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
Yes, lot of broken ships in my portfolio.
Yeah, you're gonna. That's part of the learning process, as far as like investing in stuff, and that's not necessarily unique to crypto. Although I always say that with crypto and NFTs, but mostly on just the crypto market, you're dealing with like market cycles and fast forward, So if you were dealing with a regular market cycle, like if you were looking at the S&P, and the last time that thing crashed was like 12 years ago or something like that, But we're getting a crash like every 3.5, maybe. Maybe so, and sometimes some flash stuff that, when you have a random piece of news that doesn't agree with everybody, it's,
For real.
It's not a proven asset. And that's what happens, if you want to, like if you like I studied a bit of investing before I got into crypto, and understanding that if you're dealing with new assets, there's a huge upside, but there's an enormous like danger of anything can happen. I remember I had friends. Axie was one of my first big things I got into, and one of my friends was asking me like, what could happen? And I'm like, there's so many things that could happen here. With Axie just specifically. I'm just talking about that one thing, and I'm not going to get into the things that did or didn't happen, but I'm saying some of them did and some of them didn't, and it can swing a price or value one way or the other,
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I feel like I've gotten better after you go down with enough ships. Yeah, you learn a little bit, man, and sometimes you got to like take some profits, even if that thing in the back of your head is telling you like, no way, this shit's gonna go up at least another 100%. Exactly. But yeah, man, if you hang around long enough, you've seen like some stupid run-ups, and I've gotten a little bit better about saying like, okay, like, once you hit a certain point, it's like this money, like, once converted to US dollars, actually like, makes a difference in my like livelihood or my safety net or whatever. I should not be a fucking idiot and like just reinvest it in like some like other super speculative shit. Or at least not all of it. Like,
I laugh because you're kind of telling my story right now, but I'm still young, in the game. So I definitely have like, kind of reinvested. But I was saying, I don't know if I said this during the podcast, but I basically didn't necessarily want to be one of those guys that got too big too quickly, at least in the money department, because I am scared of the way I would, handle that I'm a wild boy. You know what I mean? I was for real. So I don't even know. Like I went out to Vegas to visit with Open NFT, real good friend of mine. And you know, I went out there and I had a blast. Let's just put it that way, you know. And you know what I mean? And it costs a lot of money to have a blast like that in Vegas, you know. You know, I learned that lesson that was like, okay, you know, let's get back to work. After that, I got really, I got to figure, you know, some work out, you know.
Yeah, dude. If all this, you know, I'm like, you know, I got asked to host this conference in Spain, and now like Gary V's flying me out to VCon for
Oh yeah, we
four
got to talk
days,
about that too.
speaking
Yeah,
there
yeah,
and shit.
yeah, yeah.
And so like these things are like coming to me, and dude, I had this thought the other day. I'm like, yo, if I'm like, you know, I'm married, I have 2 kids now, so I like need to pace myself to, you know, just, you know, because I have a fucking family and shit. So, but I'm like, dude, if I was like 25 and like all these opportunities started coming my way, like I think it would fuck me up, man, because I like, you know, had some wild times as well. And when I go to these things, man, I like to fucking party, dude. It's like fun to see all of these people that, you know, you've been hanging out with like virtually for so long. And a lot of these events are like really, really fun. But I'm like, dude, I'm glad in some ways, like, I feel like, you know, because I'm older, I can manage it a little bit more responsibly than I know I wouldn't. Otherwise, I'd be like, hitting the speaker to her hard. We're gonna fuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like I went out to Miami during Art Basel and I met up with a couple guys from Decentraland, and I made sure I shut it down early. You know, I was like, you know, we hung out during the daytime, we did lunch and whatever. But then, you know, when it got nighttime and I went back to my hotel and kind of did my own thing, I didn't want to. I know better. I know who I am, you know, and it's just a certain time that I don't need. You know, after dark, you're gonna deal with a different guy. You know what I mean?
That's the Franky that I want to hang out with whenever we end up at the same conference together.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough though, man. I'm trying to tell you. I try to be, because I have a, you know, my past was kind of, I don't want to say rough, but it was like, I'm like a, you know, kind of a rough and tumble kind of person. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's not good for business. So I want to do business. You know, I'm more interested in doing business than I am kind of keeping up my old persona. You know.
We'll keep it off the books, man.
For sure. So VCon, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What's going on over there? First of all, because I honestly just don't even know. Like I don't keep up with Gary V stuff just because I don't have any, and that's just you know, sometimes my friend is big into it. I got a friend into the space, and so he got really big into the Gary V stuff, and I think he's done really well with it. But I don't know I know he's a really good investor. I know that.
Yeah, dude, Gary Vee is like way off my radar when he entered the scene. I just don't pay a lot. I don't pay a lot of attention to anything that I'm not like directly involved in, to be completely honest with you. Yeah. So it's not a knock on him. It's just off my radar. I ended up being involved with VeeFriends by proxy of working with NFT 42 at the time, and he had approached us to launch VeeFriends. And I wasn't actually directly involved in it, but by proxy for working for NFT 42, since they launched it, I was, and actually like ended up interviewing Gary Vee on Token Smart during launch day or something like that, to talk about it and everything, and it was fine. So I don't. So dude, so now I know a little bit more about Gary Vee through this whole experience and everything, and I don't like or not like Gary, honestly. Like his whole like thing is, you know, his whole Gary Vee thing is like not really for me personally. Like it's again like not a knock against it. It's just like I just don't like consume that type of like stuff or like seek it out or whatever. But his fans like certainly do, and he's got like a shitload of like really like rabid fans. But so that aside, man, like I have paid attention to how he's like dealt with NFTs and like entered the scene, and do have an appreciation for like him going to bat like very early on, like for NFTs and for the technology. And I feel like he does like get it and like understand like the, you know, technology aspect of it and everything. And so that aspect of his, I've like come to appreciate. more than what, you know, all the other stuff that he does, which is like, again, fine, but like just not for me, like personally. So so he's sort of like won me over in that respect, as far as like, and you know, he's out here like on the regular. It's like, you know, whether you like him or not, he's like talking about
active.
NFTs and how awesome they are.
Yep.
Um,
He's in that episode of Stoner Cats. Like he got like a character in Stoner Cats. Like he's
oh yeah, no, I haven't
but
seen
I have
that.
a Stoner Cat, and I definitely watched that. So like, you know, like I noticed that, and I was like, okay, that's cool. You know, it's cool to see somebody like that. Like Paris Hilton was similar. Just like you're saying, going to bat for the industry for a bunch of us who don't have that kind of notoriety. You know, so being able to use that notoriety in that kind of way is actually good. And then to have such an enthusiastic community, I think that's always good. You know, you can always that always, not always, but that translates well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude, I'm really interested to see like how this plays out at VCon and everything. So his team hit me up and I don't even know why, honestly. I didn't get the impression that they knew I was directly involved in like the Be Friends launch or anything in the first place. So I think they just sort of like hit me up blind or whatever, asked if I wanted to speak at VCon. And then they said that they'd like, you know, I had to I'm speaking at a panel on Friday. I just found this out actually. I'm speaking at a panel on Friday called OG Shit with like one other person.
I saw you tweet that,
And they're flying me out for like the whole conference, and you know, paying for like food. There's like they're sending I assume like a Uber to pick me up and take me to the airport, and like everything, the whole deal. So I'm like, shit, man, that sounds all right. And I know a bunch of people who are going to be there. So again, man, like all of these, going to these things is like a networking thing, you know, hang out with friends most of the time anyway. So I'm like, yo, dude, I just have to walk out my front door and they like take me there and take me home and feed me. And all I got to do is run my mouth for an hour about OG shit. I'm like, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. I was going to say about like the in real life meetings. You remember in the beginning when almost everyone assumed that we would never meet in real life, and like we're actively trying to not let you know who they were. I remember during this time, I was doing interviews. I was doing the same thing like this, and I would be talking to so many different random pictures, you know. Now, since then, most people are willing to get on camera. But back in those days, man, it was a different time period, and everyone thought that they were going to be this anonymous nobody. You know, that had to change. I knew that would have to change because you're not gonna. Like I used to joke, like ain't nobody gonna do business with like a drawn frog. No offense, Rizzle. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I would argue that that's not necessarily the case. No, you're right though.
I mean, I don't want to sign a contract with somebody, you know, but I mean, I get what you're saying, and definitely we're moving into the age of where, you know, the digital identity is a thing and stuff. But as far as to do something, like, I mean, you know, to actually do something with somebody, you're gonna want to speak to them or have some idea that you can work with this person, you know?
Yeah, dude, it's funny. Like Matt and I did the podcast together for like a year and a half and had no idea what each other looked like the entire time. Like never turned the camera on once. And I think, you know, because of exactly what you're saying, man, but also like when the money came in, I feel like the Web 2, it brought with like the Web 2 like sort of mentality, and in order to like do business or like, you know, start bringing more people into the fold, you had to sort of like, you know, sort of take a step back in order to take a step forward type of thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of traditional business people that were like interested in knowing who we were. Maybe not me, but you know, people like you and Maddie and Matthew and guys like that, and they were gonna want to like come to the office type thing, you know, like even, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, man. When so the first time I actually met Matt was at NFT NYC, the first one, but like whatever,
17,
pre-COVID,
17, yeah. Oh, was it 17?
2009,
20.
I think it was 19.
2020, right? It could have 19.
Yeah, it might have been early 2020. I think it was like February 2020.
Yeah, February 2020. I have like a little thing.
Anyway, so I'm trying to find Matt and Connie Digital at a bar. I know Connie's a black dude, and in my head, Matt is from South Korea. He's been living there for like 10 years. So I'm like, Matt is probably like a Korean dude. So I'm, you know, at the bar looking for like a black dude and a Korean dude, and I don't see any Korean looking dudes at the bar at all. And there's one black dude. I'm like, that's got to be Connie. So I'm like, the person next to him,
we need more
must be
representation,
Matt.
minorities in this.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to find
No,
people.
I know.
I mean,
I'm just joking.
we didn't have our profile pictures with us, man, and
Right,
so
right.
I'm like, just going on an assumption, and Matt's just a white dude sitting next to Connie, and it's just funny because I know Matt for like a year and a half, and I'm like, dude, I thought you were Korean dude. That's why I was wandering around the bar in circles and everything, but it was funny, man. But I do feel like there was that mentality, man, that it wasn't necessary, or like we were sort of championing some like idea that it wasn't going to be necessary. But also I think these conferences had a lot to do with it. A lot of us like met each other at these things, and then I think it was just all like, fuck it, like who are we really trying to like we're only talking to each other online anyway, what's the fucking point of hiding anymore?
I had originally like Steve Wan was like a huge influence on me, and I remember like watching him talk prior to any of this stuff going on. Like he was like one of the reasons I even found NFTs at all. But he was doing interviews, and he comes from the early days of Bitcoin when I believe they were kind of in that same wave. But then he started like putting out Bitcoin ATMs places. He had to be public with himself, like who he was, And that was just an understanding I had. That's why I had that early understanding. I was like, Steve's man, they didn't break down Steve's money because because he's on TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I looked at it.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. It's funny. So like, at those early conferences, man, it was funny too because a lot of us were meeting each other in person for the first time, and so, but a lot of us also, had previously been anonymous and had like handles like Rizzle. It was my anon handle. I was like lurking under that handle for like a year and a half before I even posted or anything. Right. So it was not intending to like be publicly that. So anyway, so you go to these conferences for the first time or whatever, and everyone's like sort of introducing themselves. They're like, hey, I'm like so-and-so, but you like might actually like know me from like something. It's like so-and-so. And, this like long like introduction trying to figure out how to like present ourselves to each other in the real world. And now like it just seems like everybody totally gave up. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm Rizzle. Like Strawberry Sith is like, hey, I'm Strawberry Sith.
That was another reason why I wanted it, because I always been Franky Needles since I was like 18 or something like that. So I figured that was easy enough. I'm not. Yeah. I'm the same guy. I don't even have to say. There's no difference. Just I mean, I have a last name that's real, but other than that, there's no difference. It's always anybody who's known me since I've been basically a child. Like I'd have been like, I think I got that name when I was like 18 or something like that. Because I was rapping and stuff like that, or DJing and stuff. I've always been involved with hip hop since a long time, So.
Yeah, dude. I was washing dishes at this shitty restaurant when I was in grad school, actually, and like a bunch of the high school kids started calling. I was like friends with them. They started calling me Rizzle, and like it was just something that I just sort of kept the handle like. When I needed a handle for something and like, whatever, I would just use that like across different things. There's probably like other platforms that have like old Rizzle handles out there somewhere or whatever, but it was just something I like stuck with and had no intention on ever being like publicly known as it. But then like, one thing led to another. Actually, I was doing the podcast with Matt for like basically that entire year and a half, like, and was not doxxed at all. And then at some point was just like fuck it, man. Like,
I think the first time I got on camera with you was the WTF event. That's the first time I remember seeing you on camera.
The WTF event. What was that?
Yeah, it was like what the fuck was NFTs, and we did it was like a big series of conferences in Decentraland.
Oh yeah.
Literally everybody from the industry at that point was there.
Yes, yeah. No, I remember the NFTs WTF. I couldn't like place the event or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, man, it was, I mean, once I went full time in the industry, I was basically like, there's no turning back, it's not, well, and also like, I like the idea. So I was like working with kids, like on the side, not on the side, like it's like a full-time job or whatever. So I really wanted to like keep my shit completely separate from that. And like, wanted, essentially the freedom to be able to like, post whatever I want, like say whatever I want without like having to worry about like, some kid I worked with stumbling on my profile and like, that affecting, their judgment of me or like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and early Rizzle had a sharp tongue. Early
Wait, Rizzle
Rizzle,
still does
early
sometimes.
Rizzle would no, but early Rizzle would flip out on a project, like long thread. There was a lot of people who were running projects were scared of you. They were scared, like, man, if Rizzle finds out about my project, I might go down. You know.
Dude, I was just saying to again, man, talking with Skeeny, I had a great time with him, man. I'd never actually met him in real life, but spent like he like took time off to like give my wife and I a tour of Madrid and everything. This kind of shit, like coming out of like this, early bullshit is just like, such an amazing like life experience to have like come out of this whole thing. So anyway, man, was like talking to him about this like same thing. I was like, dude, I get a surprising like lack of trolling like on Twitter. Like nobody really like, digs at some of the stuff I say. And I'm like, dude, if I said like I would troll me, like definitely. I'm like like sort of surprised that like, and Skinny sort of said the same thing. He's like, dude, he's like, people I don't think like want to step on the hornet's nest or some shit. I don't know, man. I'm like having fun out there.
I was just about to say, it seems like most of the early guys have turned into the trolls anyway. Right now, like we're the ones laughing, being like, oh, your house is burning, huh? Like.
Yeah, that's true, man. I guess that's the other thing that I noticed about this like huge run up is that I feel like the old community was never that big, but it was also like fairly fragmented in the sense that like we all sort of knew each other, but we're all sort of a little bit on our own islands, like doing our own thing with like some overlap here and there. But I feel like we all got like fucking canceled together during this like whole thing, and it's like united. A lot
the
of
art
us
guys,
too,
the art guys are so ready. I believe in them in the bear market. I think the art guys will come back. But yeah, man, the art guys are real ready to kind of be the forefront again because, it seemed like PFPs. I remember, and I'm not going to name names, so somebody had the first person that told me about Bored Apes. And I'm thinking like, I had just bought so much art. I was like, I don't want no more art in my head, And that was what that was. It is what it is.
Yeah, man. It is, but I didn't get it either, man. And in a large respect, like still don't, even though like I can, wrap my head around how it happened or whatever. But yes, dude, I feel for the artists. I see them out there on Twitter being like, "When is one art season?" Like one of us, like it's got to happen sometime.
Just art season in general. I mean, I do believe in. Literally, I really do believe in the art, the NFT art world.
Me too.
I don't think that visual displays are where they need to be for everybody to really look at it in that light. In the beginning, it was kind of the only thing we had. So it was like, check it out. But now everybody has everything else. There's there's a lot of things going on. But I think that when you get to the other side, whether it's in the bear market or whatever, you're gonna have a time when people have a lot more, visual displays on their walls. I don't have any, and that'll be a flex, a major flex, like much major than in my opinion than your profile paper. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree, man, 100%. And especially with the displays and everything. I feel like I don't really get people like equating the buyers of like these collectibles with like the art buyers. Like I feel like these people are like two completely separate categories that like a lot of the artists are getting like offended by, and I sort of feel like it's like
that's
it's
not
like
your,
missing
that's
the mark.
not your public, right? Like it's not really the people you're after necessarily.
Dude, my kid is like obsessed with Pokemon cards and like doesn't give a fuck about one of one art. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's basically it in a nutshell. Like, there are people who just love collectibles, and that's a different audience. There's some overlap. I'm in the middle of the overlap. I like collectible stuff and art, but I think art is different. It's and it's a slower burn to get art collectors to appreciate this sort of like new medium where, we're still sort of like in experimental territory with it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think that when you have a better way to display it, whether it's in the metaverse and something that's
I agree.
more tangible or on your walls or whatever it may be, I think that yeah, that'll be the time period for it. So again, it's more like you're gonna go down this historic, time period. And I always said too, there's gonna be. I'm surprised it doesn't exist. Of like, kind of like Etherscan for NFTs, like
Yeah.
that you can really go through and do the research of like, what happened on the blockchain and how did these things get here. And then you would have
Yeah.
a little bit. I feel like you'd be able to kind of like understand what's actually historic around here. And what really made waves for the next thing to come along.
Yeah, dude, I hope like I hope the market's in a downswing. I don't like necessarily hope that, but I like hope that this is the type of like I feel like that's the kind of thing that like doesn't get built in a bull market because nobody gives a shit.
No, let me tell you, because I'm working too. No one is working hard right now. Everyone is working just hard enough. Like, and the people that work hard, they're killing it. They're putting out projects and stuff. I'm trying to tell you, it's really hard to work hard when the market is going completely ballistic, and everyone has a little extra money, a little extra time, is busting a vacation every other. Man, I'll be working with somebody, and then be like, "Oh, you've been on vacation? That's why I haven't been able to get a hold of you." Like, yeah, I had to shoot out to another country that you would like. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But that's just the age that we're living in the right now. And I do respect a lot of the guys that were around early, because how do you explain, like, they had to get here, so they worked hard during the bear markets or whatever. Now they're here. Yeah, go on a quick vacation. We'll get back to it. There's going to be another bear market. There's going to be a evening out or whatever you want to call it, and there'll be a time to really go to work. Not to say don't work, but I'm just saying I get why some people don't work as hard as possibly they would if they were broke, because they're not broke, and that's that's the reality. It's funny because I'll get like traditional business people that like kind of get on my case about that. I'm like, man, you weren't here. You don't understand what that is. We were grinding this whole time when you weren't paying attention, when you wanted nothing to do with us. We were sitting here grinding this whole time, and now it's done well. Yeah, a couple people's gonna want some vacations. You get vacation time on your traditional job. We get to pick it on our own time, which is usually during the time when things are blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly, man. It's funny that you say that, dude. I've given a lot of thought to that too, man. Like people, like the way that this works is so like unconventional compared to like traditional work, and like trying to like explain, like even though I can like I've gotten better to like sort of explaining like what I do, like crypto going mainstream like certainly helps like a little bit to explain to people, but like work is so like the term work or whatever is so strange right now, and like trying to explain like what that is or like how that fits into my schedule or whatever. It's just sort of like this like weird ongoing like amorphous thing that I can like put aside or pick up like depending on whatever it is. But have over the course of like the last couple of years met with like a lot of Web 2 people and had like a lot of opportunities to work for different companies and projects and whatever. And it's funny to see them want to enter the space and like recapture people and put them in like a Web 2 box. It's like, okay, well, like, what these are going to be your hours and responsibilities, and like, I made the mistake of joining forces with like once I left NFT 42 to sort of like do my own thing. I tried to help out a couple projects that I quickly realized like, were just that, man. They were like well-intentioned Web 2 projects trying to enter the space. And I just knew after like a couple weeks, I'm like, dude, these projects are going to bomb. There's like no way they don't like understand how to navigate this space. They're trying to like, build out this like community mission and like all this shit ahead of time. And like, all these like contracts and shit. I'm like, dude, this is Web3, man. You get a developer and an artist and you shake hands and like make shit work, dude. Like we don't need to do all this like, you know, premeditated infrastructure and like
What
all
happens
this
with
shit.
that is it then if it doesn't come to fruition in the first like allotted time, then the thing's over because you expected to make this much money. Like you started this mission, you know, if you're coming like for that kind of like Web2 mentality, you know, you started this mission, and if it became not worth your time, then you stop, you know. So you might as well stop from the beginning because you're wasting your time. You're doing it wrong, you know. You should be doing it. It kind of organically turns into something that you should be turning into a business, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like the traditional guys want to come up in here and, like you said, it's kind of, you know, mission statement, like here's what we're gonna do, and then you're basically saying, okay, well, we're gonna definitely make money, and that's a hard, you know, it's a tough one around here. Yeah.
No, it is, man. Yeah, exactly. Shit, what was it? Dude, you're right on with what you were saying. It made me lose my train of thought. Something along the same lines, man. But, dude, it's yeah, man. Like putting the cart before the horse. It's so difficult to know like how things are going to shake out. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say, man. It seemed like a lot of like posts about people who are, you know, trying to start their own project or whatever, and they're like, what's the best way to like bootstrap my thing? Should I do like an NFT drop to like bootstrap it? Should I take on like some VC money? And like, dude, like, you know, when again, man, back when it was early days, like there was no money, man. If you just wanted to like do something, you just like started doing it, and then like, you know what I mean? Nobody's getting paid. You just like made it happen. And I feel like, you know, that's the way like I approach like you know, my most recent project is like got an artist developer, and it's like, you know, whatever money we make on this thing, we'll just chop it up evenly. But like there's no like, how do we get paid to make this thing? It was like, if it's good, we'll get paid. Like, you know what
literally
I mean?
And that's actually same mentality of the podcast. Like, right, I'm doing this right now, right, and I really haven't explained how I'm going to release it, but I told you earlier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, edit this video. I'm going to post this video at my bar, and I'm going to record that video. That's going to be the podcast from the bar. The bar is a project that I've done, Franky's Tavern, with my man Juxton, who same idea, man. I was doing an interview, not an interview. We used to do this. I don't think you remember. We used to do the DCL roundtable. It was a bunch of the early Decentraland guys. It was like every Friday, every Saturday, whatever it was. And so I'm sitting at one of those things one time, and I'm talking. I'm like, man, if I had a coder, I'd be doing good, or whatever I said. I might have said something even more, you know, over the top than that. But and so Juxton happened to be in the crowd, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a coder." And we started talking that night, and then 3 weeks later, we had the bar built. And then he ended up getting a job off of that, which was a blessing. It was great because it made it, you know, very, like, it felt successful, even though we didn't necessarily turn money. But, you know, kind of going back to the bar, like, yeah, now we want to do stuff with the bar. And yeah, me and Juxton are still partners on that. And he's, like you said, it's just a split money situation. It's not you know, there's some sort of contract and percentages, points, none of that, you know?
Right. Yeah. Dude, so much of the good opportunities that have come my way have been through the exact type of stuff like you're talking about, man. Is like, you know, you built the bar didn't necessarily churn revenue or whatever, but it led to like other things for yourself and for other people. And that's, you know, sort of been the deal with like my podcast and like the Whip. Like, we're not making any money on these things, but like the connections and like the opportunities and like the people that I've met, you know, during the course of like all this, you know, have been priceless or whatever. So it's you know, I feel like it's a different mentality, man. That's like that old like Web3 mentality. Like, if you build it, they will come, like, type of thing. And it's the truth, man. If you do cool stuff, you know what you're doing.
I'm gonna tell you what happened. We were a group of people that were not necessarily allowed into the regular world, financial or business, one way or the other, for one reason or the other. But it seemed like a bunch of us had skills and we knew it. So we could, you know, we would just use our skills rather than prepare for them and declare them and all the other stuff, you know. You just use them. Do whatever you do. And you do something that's valuable to me, let's do it together. And there was no apprehension behind, oh, you're from a certain class of people, you're from anything. There was, I mean, a lot of that had to do with no like kind of face-to-face stuff, but at the same time, you know, it was just like, people, I was able to talk with people who are, you know, now they run businesses and huge, you know, maybe even funds and stuff like that. But it doesn't even matter. They knew that I had brought something to the table. Same thing with you, Matthew. Obviously knew you brought something to the table. You know, that's how it happens, because somebody was able to say, oh, I'm willing to work with this person, even though I don't have his resume, let's call it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's like very well put, man. Like, and I think, yeah, man, I can't even say it better, but like that whole concept of like, that's what people were here doing, like just sort of, you know, the whole space was like very liberating before, and probably still is for a lot of people. There's like that part of it is still certainly out there. It's just like it's sort of overshadowed by like a lot of the noise and everything. But like being able to just sort of enter the space and like, again, man, for me personally, coming from like a profession where I like, you know, I have to be, you know, somewhat careful about my public image and everything, like, and how I present myself publicly. It's very liberating to just be able to like be able to be myself and you know, just sort of see where that takes me. And dude, my whole journey has been like really organic, man. It started with the podcast with Matt, and well, not even really that, but that's like my public journey. It really started with like me fucking log jamming Scent on the Scent leaderboard for like a year and a half or some shit. Yeah. There was that really led to that. But anyway, man, it's just been like one thing that has led to another, and I've just tried to like lean into what feels right and what I feel like I bring to the table. And you know, you've done a lot of the same thing, man. I respect greatly that when you're out here, it's because you want to be out here. You're on your own clock, like, and everybody knows that. And I feel like people respect that, man. Like, you know, if you've been around long enough, you can do things on your own time. And yeah,
I think as you should too. Like if you, I didn't come into this space to answer to nobody, you know. I always was like on that mission, like you know. I studied ownership prior to this. Like, you know, I was like, I want ownership. I didn't have a lot of ownership prior to this. So I was like, I'm going to own a bunch of the stuff that I do, you know, whether it's what I do or what I like assets, you know. The bottom line, I just wanted to make my own rules, you know. And sure, I do work with people, but I rarely work for, like, I'm not much for commission jobs, you know. I don't like I build a little bit in Decentraland and stuff. I'm not much for commission jobs. Like, I can work with somebody who I respect a lot, like I do. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna like, oh, you know, I want this built, you know, can you do it in this amount of time? And like, nah, you probably should hire somebody else for that. You know?
Dude, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. That was one of the things. So like, that was one of the big reasons I left NFT 42. Like, to be completely honest with you, and not in like a negative way or anything, but up until the point where the VCs came in, it was just like a handful of friends building cool shit together, and it wasn't but you know, once money comes in, then you got to answer to people and you got to start like doing things, and I just couldn't, man. I'm like, and felt exactly like what you were saying, man. I didn't come here to start like taking orders and like answering to other people and like doing stuff like other people's way. I came this far like on my own thing, like doing it my own way. Like I'm not gonna like, you know, put myself in a box now. And
there's also not
again,
a money
man, not
amount
trying to
they're
like
gonna
talk
put on
smack,
that either.
like,
You know what I mean? Like for me, and I don't mean to cut you off, but there's not a money amount that I'm interested. So you're not gonna tell me, oh, well, this much money, so you wouldn't you do it? You know, I'm like, nah, that's not, because again, not what I came here for. You know, I'm doing fine on my own pace, even though, like I said, I work with people. I'm not like just some old freelance person. You know, I definitely have people that I work with and make money with me, for me, whatever. But at the same time, you know, it's a complete understanding that you know, I'm Franky Needles. Like, I'm gonna be that. You know.
Yeah, 100%, man. And again, not trying to like say that there's necessarily anything wrong with going that approach. I mean, someone, if they weren't going to, someone was going to, and they're doing like just
dudes
fine.
Are killing
like
it. Yeah, it's just some people that, you know, that are completely killing it with that mentality. You know, with, you know, that there are, you know, that's cool, you know. But
That's cool.
it was just
Exactly.
a different thing I came for, and I seem to have found the thing that I came for, so I'm happy, you know. That's what it is.
Yeah. Me, dude. I again, man. Like a shitload more money would be cool,
Yeah.
but you know, but you know, I'm loving life right now, man. I get
Hmm.
to do what I want when I want, and in like an industry that I'm like fascinated with like people that I love. Like, you know, what more could you like really ask for? And I wasn't gonna get that by like putting myself in a box and like doing a job that somebody else wanted me to do. I want to fucking do my own weird Rizzle shit, you
That's what I'm saying. So speaking of that, like, so what do you think the future of like weird Rizzle shit is? Not to say like give me a bunch of alpha, but like what do you know, what does it look like?
know. Dude, sort of take it as it comes,
Yeah.
honestly. I feel like so like the on chain chains, man, was like something I really built like for myself. Like I really like have I want interoperable shit. And
Mm-hmm.
so like
Mm-hmm.
I really like have a strong desire to use that as like a vehicle to push that
Mm-hmm.
narrative and like get more things that talk to each other.
Yep.
And the process is like janky as fuck right now. But if there's anything I've
Yeah.
learned, man, like doing this thing like in Spain, you know, hosting this event and
Mm-hmm.
everything, like everyone wants interoperable shit. So it's not like the demand isn't there.
Somebody
It's
has to
just,
push the boundary too, Rizzle. You know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
might
yeah.
have to be the guy that pushes and says, "Hey, it's time." You know, it's
Right.
time to start making some interoperable NFTs that actually work for different things. You know.
Right. Well, so this is fun for me, right? I get to
Mm.
yell at people about like, you know, y'all should be like doing better shit. Like, and I believe it. And
Mhm.
so like, you know, this was like sort of a selfish project in like that regard because it's just something that I really wanted for myself in a lot of ways. But I also feel like I love this space, man, and I believe in the
Mhm.
technology, and you know, I want to be on the front, like pushing it in the direction that I feel like it should be going in, which you know, right now is interoperable shit. So that's like the short and the long term like thing, man. I don't really like get involved in anything and not stick with it. Everything sort of comes along with me. So
Mhm.
you know, I'm gonna continue to push that shit, continue to do the podcast, continue to
Mhm.
do the whip, see what other weird things, you know, sort of fall into my lap as a result of that.
Right.
But I feel like the combination of like all of these things, like sort of puts me like right out there on the edge, which is where I like to be, man. That's like
Right.
where it's fun and like where the most interesting shit is going on.
Exactly. The innovators, the people who are coming up with ideas. I find that more fun to create stuff.
Yeah.
You know, create ideas, concepts that people may have not tried or you know you thought of or whatever it may be. You know, so I find the same kind of I find that those things just as like fulfilling it probably as you do. You know, that's why I come to you with this random idea, like the fire hat thing. Like, let's not even talk about the fire station. The fire hat. Like,
Yeah.
how random was that? Because it had nothing to do with nothing. I said, hey, you want to give away 70 fire hats? You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean?
Spent like an hour and a half sending out fire hats that night.
Yeah,
It was super
yeah.
fun.
But now we have beta testers for something, you know. So like it's like
Yeah.
I built that not thinking anything
Yeah.
going forward. Like I had no plan, although that figured we could do something with it in the future. I believe that was what I said in the text, right? Like we can do something
Yeah.
with this, right? You know, and then you know we did, and that was cool. And now we have the ability. You know, I come up with this other idea, like of this fire station. I'm not gonna go too deep in the fires; it's not done. But you know, then you can have the hats talk to the fire station. You know.
Yeah. It was cool, man. When I was tapping on the mega cube, every now and again I'd see someone with a fire hat, like, you know,
Mm,
zooming around or whatever.
mm.
Yes, it's cool, man. People still, that was a while ago now. People still out there wearing them and
There's some
everything.
OG fire helmet people out there. That, you know, that we're bringing the brigade out. At some point, the brigade is gonna mean something. So, you
Yeah.
know.
No, that's like some of the fun stuff, man. I got that this like goofy Rizzle block thing going on, and so like a lot of people have like replica Rizzle blocks in their wallet that I could like potentially, you know, activate or do some shit with
Hmm.
at some point. Dude, that's what's like so fun about all this to me, man. Like trying to figure out like by doing like really dumb shit with this tech, it's also like somehow innovative and creative and leads to other like more serious stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Did you see
It's cool, man.
the 3D printed and have you 3D printed one yourself on chain?
No, I saw someone
I
else
want
did,
one
and
now.
I
Yeah.
know.
I want mine.
Yo, I know, right? I know Josh from Fly Frog said he 3D printed one. He's trying to send it to me before I go to
Nice.
VCon next week. So I haven't seen it yet. But dude, I met someone in Spain who like works with like a legit like sword like manufacturer, and they're gonna potentially make like a real like metal like heavy metal chain type of
Oh,
thing.
okay, okay.
So I don't know, man. Like this is the fun shit. Like you
Yeah,
know,
of
anyone
course.
who has like any like fucking wacky idea, I'm like, yeah, man, let's see it. Why not? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about interoperability. You can, it don't have to necessarily be on the chain either. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like specifically or only on the chain. I mean, like, all right, you know, you have your
yeah,
interoperability on different chains and stuff like that. But what if the 3D printed ones become a thing? You know,
yeah.
and then yeah, you have ownership over that. You know, so it's a lot of cool going on there. You know, even though it seems from if you were from over here look at it like I don't really get it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
There'll be a time.
I
There'll
know,
be a
dude.
time.
My wife is like, you really need like a website that explains like everything that's going on to like people who are just entering the space and they're like don't really understand like what the hell this is like a really complicated project that like I'm like I know. I don't have time for all that shit, man. They're like, I'll get there, dude. Part of me is like, I'm almost glad like. So I had to sort of eat it, man. Where it fucking dropped like we the drop broke, the price tanked
Oh,
on the chains and everything went
okay.
all the way down to like 0.025, but then they sold through like pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the people who I really wanted to get them got them because they were like really affordable. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a weird way, like the price going down, I think like we had a lot of momentum and it seemed like they were going to sell through at like a much higher price,
Mm-hmm.
and so sort of a tough pill to swallow in that regards, but it's cool
It'd be
that
different if
like
the project was dead, though. I mean, it's a project that's going on, so man, you know, everything has a
well
cycle.
that and like that's why I'm not like necessarily like the people who get it like got them, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the people who got them are like using them and wearing them, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is fucking cool. Like that was the whole point of the project, like to
Mm-hmm.
get them in people's hands that like really understand it. And so that's what I'm telling my wife. I'm like, the we'll get to the website, like the new people they'll figure it out eventually, but like right now I'm like I'm all right with like only the people who like really understand it, like getting them. Like it's not like the project's going anywhere. It's not like I'm going
You know what?
anywhere.
Another
So
thing,
like,
Rizzo, I think that something to be said about what you were saying a little bit while back now about the wearables. I think that the general community doesn't necessarily understand, you know, wearables, you know,
yeah,
like that, you know. So maybe it might take the time when people start to come to like, oh, you know, wearables are a thing in the metaverse on, you know, with NFTs and that are collectible. And then you look into a project like that, or you look into the you know some of the old school stuff, you know, the first wearables
Rizzle
from
fire hats.
whatever it may be, you know, you know, whatever it may be, because I'm not gonna, I could chill everything in my wallet right now, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
But
know, man.
yeah,
You will be the one at the top of the mountain, man. When
that's
when
what
wearables take
yeah, that's what I
off.
was saying. I'll do a photo whacking for that one. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever seen Alice in Wonderland. That's like my movie, but yeah,
Yes, of course.
on that day.
Yeah, man. It'll happen. We'll get there eventually. I believe in what you're saying, man. We'll get there.
It's a, for me, it seems like a collective knowledge thing. It's like, if you ever heard this term, the hundredth monkey, and like there was like an island that they had like coconuts on the island. It was like a bunch of monkeys on the island, and they taught the one monkey to clean off the coconuts with water so then they could have them, something like that. You know, when the hundredth monkey figured that out, the whole island did it. It was collective consciousness.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Right.
So it's like,
Right.
you know, I think that probably it's going to take that for many of the different things in the metaverse and the metaverse itself. Like, it's not like the metaverse is hitting
Yeah.
like with a bunch of, like, a lot of people are interested in it, but many people don't know what it is, does, you know. And I've had people ask me recently, like, you know, kind of why would I want to be in there and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, you know, it's explaining digital ownership and, you know, and being able to do business within there and having that essentially be your 3D internet when the time comes. And it probably is not going to be just one place. There's probably going to be many different places like towns and cities. So I think it's going to take a larger understanding of the collective. Like right now, everybody kind of collectively understands that PFPs is getting money. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, I agree with you. Once I think there's a lot of speculation about the metaverse, but I feel like a lot of people just don't care at all, or have like zero interest in it, or like and almost like hate it. Like they don't want to be told that like that's where we're gonna end up. They're like, fuck that, man. I'm not
you ain't gonna put no glasses on me. Like, all right, homie. Like,
yeah.
I bet. But I bet Apple comes out with them, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, do you see my new Apple glasses?" Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just one of these things. Like, a lot of people want to push back against Facebook, who has stolen our likeness, essentially, like the metaverse. Like, and so now many people equate metaverse, the word metaverse, with the Facebook version, which I thought was very like, whoa, like a little bit like, put me back. But when I go out into the regular public and speak to regular people, that's what they do. They, when I say I work within the metaverse and I'm into that kind of world, they think that I like work for Mark Zuckerberg himself. It's kind of funny. Like I'd be way richer if I was working for Mark, man. Like, running the metaverse. But no, I mean, especially how much money I heard they wasted on that shit.
Yeah, dude, I'm just watching from the sideline, hoping it burns.
I mean, it looks really bad. It looks like they don't know what they're doing. I've heard little things about them not knowing what they're doing. It looks like they don't, at all. Because it just, the user experience for what they're trying to do. Because that's not like, I don't know what to call that. I don't know who owns anything in there. So I don't know, I guess you could call that like a 3D version of Facebook or something. I don't even, and it doesn't even look like that. VR chat exists. VR chat is kind of like that kind of platform if you're looking for something like that. But like, ownership within these worlds is the concept. So if you're looking for what metaverse means, I mean, that's really, to me, is what it mostly means is within this digital space, I can also own things and, interact with things in there. So,
Yeah. No, I feel like we're just seeing so much of that now. Like people building the thing that they think we want, instead of just letting the builders build the thing that they want or whatever. They're carving up a experience for us instead of just letting us do it ourselves like we have been or whatever.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Nothing has changed. Everybody's continuing to to make these experiences that matter, from within. Like it's like almost like user driven. The mega cube, right? Is it meta cube or mega cube?
Mega cube.
That's an amazing like example of that though. You're talking about even though like that is a team for sure. They're and all those people are great people, but that's still like from within, almost very user based. Even though they're definitely driven to make these projects, but I mean these guys are participants in the metaverse and all the things. I mean I know Daniel personally, but his whole team, they're all involved with all the worlds. It's not just one or the other. So they're making it from the standpoint of like they're in there. They know what a user experience would want to look like. So I think that's why many times they make some of the best experiences because, and I'm talking about Polygonal Mind now, whereas like because they
talk to them, man.
Users, I know, and they're users, so they understand it. Wonder Mind, totally. Wonder Zone is another one like that they get it, where you're not just like making something for them, but you're making something for us, and you include yourself in that us,
Yeah, dude. I was just saying, if anything like really demonstrates the power of NFTs, is this fucking mega cube. You got hundreds of people just standing there tapping at a wall for like 2 days straight, man. Just trying to just tapping at this fucking cube.
Give me an NFT.
Right? It doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't have to be like super high resolution. You just put a fucking box out there with a bunch of tiles to tap on, and hundreds of people will show up.
What's so crazy is that the first mega cube he did, wasn't even close to as like
No.
the reception wasn't like this. I
No.
believe it went on for a long time because the reception wasn't like this. So you got to give like a big shout out to those guys because they were able to stick with it again, knowing that this is what a user would want, and they, you know, and now it's coming to fruition. It's understanding the product, like understanding the product that you're using, the product you're building on. So you're not building from the outside, like, you know, it's almost like like VCs just throwing money at stuff, you know.
Yeah.
If I want to throw some money, throw some money at my bar. I'll take it. We're not, you know, we're not going to be doing that you want to do.
But we'll accept donations.
Yeah, why not? You know.
Yeah. No, man, you're exactly right. I mean, it's built by people from the inside who understand what a user experience is like, and that was perfect example, man. Tapping on the cube days straight, and people fucking loved it, and it was fun, man. I tapped at that cube for a long time too, man. I got I got a really awesome tiger suit that I got to send myself, like the whole thing for Decentraland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really dope. I'm actually like really excited. It'll go nice with my fire hat.
Hell yeah. Now you got some little outfit. Nice. Oh, yeah, man. Dude. All right, Rizzle, we're pulling up on around an hour and a half. I really got to thank you for this, man. Like, you got to understand. I really admire what you're doing in the world that we're in, you know, the NFT world.
Thank you, man.
And definitely aspire to do similar things, you know, and obviously we're working together on different projects, so, you know, there's that too.
Yeah, dude, hell yeah, man. I appreciate you having me. Honestly, like, almost forgot we were recording like half the time. It was like great to just hang out and shoot the shit with you, man. If you want to bring me back on anytime, I'm always down to do it again, man.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. You set the date and we'll make it happen.
You're gonna end up with a co-host if you're not careful, man. We'll do it again.
No big deal. All right, man. Much appreciated. And thank you for everybody for watching this, and we'll be back for another one. Much love.
Awesome.